Alright, so relationships with suppliers. First off, the business-to-business market in general is a whole business in and of itself. But what do you really need to know as an HVAC contractor? Well, we're going to use those similar tactics that we just used for making your brand more valuable. Now let's think of some reasons why. And I have them written down here. Let's consider this. Suppliers are going to help you if you help them. You pay your bills on time, they might help you get a product that you needed or a part that you needed quicker. They might even help you get it at a better price. Also, you don't have a business without the materials that they provide. So let's say you're having a problem paying a bill. Why don't you call them up and say, hey, I'm having a problem paying off my bill this month. Is there anything we can work out? And ultimately, this will drive up the honesty and closen the relationship that you do have with your supplier. Also, ask them if there are any specials that they have, because it is a competitive market, and they want your business. So the idea here is just bonding the relationship as close as possible with the people who are really looking out to help you. Now, how long will it take you to do a job is another thing that you have to consider when providing the value. We want to give customers a time frame of how long it's going to take to do a job. And I mean, it doesn't have to be an exact idea, but as long as you give them something to go on, they feel more at ease, more comfortable, and that's where we're going with a lot of this. Also, we're going to be honest with customers about how long a job is going to take. If while doing the job you find out that it's going to cost more money, cost more time, then let them know, because then they get concerned when it starts taking you longer and you're not mentioning anything. They wonder how qualified you are, when in reality, you're very qualified and they just don't understand. Customers think of you as a doctor too, and this is really an interesting thing. Even if you don't have the time to get back to them in your busy schedule, give them a call, because then you're going to lose their business. If a person is sick and they can't reach their doctor, they're going to call another doctor, because the sickness isn't going to go away. And the same thing happens with HVAC. So these are some things that we're going to have to consider in providing the value. Next, we want to do the right job the first time. I'm going to tell you a story about these two ladies that we did a job for. Their name were Cheryl and Jill. And very nice ladies. A bunch of contractors went to their home. They wanted to do installation, central AC installation. They were completely renovating their home. And the owner of Dr. Frigid went originally, and he assessed the house, and he came to the conclusion that we could do it. We could do the central AC installation. We got all the parts, everything was together, but little to his knowledge, they were putting in 2 skylights where the air handler would have gone. So, now we don't have room for a central AC. What do? We're going to be honest, and we're going to do the right job the first time around. We said to them, listen, we're going to do 6 or 7 ductless splits in your home. It'll take care of everything. We promise you we want to do the right job. And they had such bad experiences with other contractors that they were a little hesitant at first. But then as we started doing it, they realized, you know, these guys really know what they're talking about, and we appreciate the fact that they did the right job instead of putting all this stuff up and then having to take it all back down, cut holes in the ceiling. I mean, this is the last thing that they wanted when they were renovating a home, to have something else repaired when they thought everything was just going to go smooth. Alright, so what I was getting back to is trust as an important aspect of consumer behavior being said right now. We actually just had an associate student of ours come in at ASU, and he's doing this huge study right now on trust, perceived levels of trust, and your bank. How customers choose their bankers. And there's obviously a positive correlation with that. You're going to trust an investment banker? You're going to choose an investment banker who you don't trust to handle your money? Same thing with your home. Are you going to choose an HVAC contractor to handle equipment in your home that you don't trust, who might possibly steal from you? This is something that you have to build up as part of your brand name, your brand image, and your recognition. And then we just mentioned this right here. If consumers don't have your trust, then they won't be willing to have you do the job, let alone pay you the price that you want. They're going to go find someone else who they trust. Okay, so now we've moved into the part that we all think marketing is, communicating this value. How do we communicate our company's value to customers? There are direct marketing methods where we could make telephone calls and email people and do mailing lists, but this is kind of tedious to do and it's really complicated. It takes a long time to do, not recommended for the HVAC industry on my behalf, especially for small businesses. Personal selling, now that's something that we're going to do, and I'm going to pass this around in a minute. This is a welcome folder that I developed, and you guys can take a look at everything that's inside it. This is a great way to do this to do the personal selling. Every time you go on an estimate, you have a welcome packet, and inside you have a cover letter that says what your company is about, a couple of flyers and advertisements, and some literature on all the materials that you use in your installations. This just helps them to feel more comfortable and trustworthy of you. And it also gets the word out about what you use as a contractor. Advertising is another thing that we do. I put some flyers in there and you'll see that, and I'll give you some tips on advertising in just a minute. Public relations is huge with HVAC industry, and not the public relations that you would really think about. When everybody thinks of PR, they think big CEOs coming up and onto the podiums on TVs, and that's not exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about relations with your public. You have a target market, what do they think of you? And that's getting back to the whole idea of branding and your brand image. Sales promotions, are you going to use sales promotions? I made a flyer in here where I said if you mention this advertisement, you'll get a free estimate. And that gives you an idea of how many people are actually you're actually retaining or attracting through your marketing communications. And you can take a look at that in just a minute when I pass that around. Now, some things to consider in your ads. Wording. I purposely mixed up the wording on this cover letter in one aspect. At the end, I wrote Eric Schick, owner and head mechanic of Dr. Frigid Mechanical Corp. And that's just, figuratively, just to give you guys an example. But the problem here is owner and head mechanic. How good does that actually sound? Owner, how about owner and chief operator? That would probably be a little bit nicer. That's something to consider in your advertisements. Are you wording it appropriately? Are you actually going to follow through on what you're wording? Can you do it? How you design it. Is it attractive? Does it gain your attention? Does it gain your interest? Context. What's the context of the wording that you're using also? These are things that you should consider when you devise your ads, which are actually easy to create now. A lot of these things that I did were on Microsoft Publisher, which almost everybody has Microsoft Office now. And it took me 5 minutes to develop these. Real easy, real simple, real quick, and it's effective.